Hi, I'm Jessica Ardeal with the Professional Healers Institute. Thank you for tuning in to Crack the Code of Your Body's Intelligence, because today's featured health expert has over 30 years experience as an alternative holistic healthcare practitioner and provider. He is a neuromuscular therapist and incorporates many different modalities utilizing muscle testing. I'm thrilled that he's here on the expert panel. He's transforming lives around the world, including mine, and from Wellness Within Reach. Welcome. Thank you for joining us, Peter Seymour Howe.
Thank you very much. And how exciting to be such an expert. It's great. Thank you.
You know, because of your expertise, there's so much that we can talk about. For starters, would you mind sharing how you were first introduced to muscle testing?
Yeah, back in the 70s, not to date myself, but literally through my process with learning polarity therapy, I was dealing with my health issues, and he recommended this alternative guy who used a pendulum. And from that point on, that was my first introduction, that we can gather information, we can source from other aspects than just what we read. So my eyes kind of went, boing. There's a lot to this than just what's meeting my actual eye.
And so what prompted you then to study more and go into learning about muscle testing beyond the pendulum?
Well, total greed. It was about my own survival and my own health issues. And then after many a journey, I realized that, as it may sound a little out there, but as I opened up to the universe more, the universe said, we need to learn how to communicate with you. And certainly muscle testing became a great medium for me to be able to ask questions and receive.
And there's so much there that you just said with opening up to receiving the information. I'm wondering, do you think that muscle testing can only go as far as the tester is willing to open themselves up? Or what limitations do you see with muscle testing?
Well, I would first like to preface that we are all divine beings, and that we are open to accessing any and all information. But as my Native American teacher would say, we have to work within a form. And until we learn how to ask questions outside that form, we're going to have to stick within the form. So we get to utilize the information that we already know, but then that intuitive little brain may pop up and say, I got this question. And then you go, that wasn't my question, right? So that's where the fun begins. How do we stay open in the process of our own form? Make sense?
It does, and it also prompts me to think of, the form of muscle testing and learning how to muscle test accurately and be able to trust those results and have confidence in them. Was there a turning point for you when you really started to feel like, okay, I've got this as far as muscle testing goes?
So, fun little story. So when I first learned how to use a pendulum, I was out busy dowsing, and way back when, this is in Massachusetts, and they just started the lotto, right? So, and they only had, the one number game or whatever it was once a week. And I decided, let's give it a shot. So of course, back then, Peter in his poverty consciousness put down $6 for, this big lotto of, I don't know, whatever it was, worked on a percentage of what you paid. And I had a friend who put down $12 because I was so convinced we were going to win. And we nailed it. We nailed it. And I walked away with like $60, and he walked away with, I don't know, $300, whatever it was, way back when, more than where my brain cells would go. And it was like, oh, this is great. So what happened? My ego took over. It was like I could become the instant millionaire. No, having to back up, Spirit said, see the infinite possibilities. But no, you can't work from that point, right? So the way I look at it is this work is to be of service, not to, of course, being of service helps benefit us all. But the part is we need to use it to be of service, not to take advantage of, shall we say. And so, yeah, right off the get-go, I saw the possibilities. And as I got to know other healers that I brought into my practice or met along the way, as I cleared myself and gathered more information, there's a certain level of security and knowing and sensitivity that comes to the muscle testing. So there's always the awkwardness. There's the starting to release the egoic mind who wants to know the answers, right? Aha. See, I see you smiling too. And yes, that's true. And then just being present in your beingness, willing to hear. And that's that fine line. So depending your muscle testing with the O-ring test or a little finger test, to those who, all the different varieties of muscle testing, you have to step out of what you want it to be and become neutral. Thus, you become open to receive.
I like the way you phrased that. And it just makes me chuckle, the lotto story you shared at the beginning, right? Because it's not about...
We've all tried it.
It's also speaking to that piece where muscle testing works when you're in a dialogue with life, right? And so there's that living interaction that really makes a difference and provides the accurate feedback, because it is the body intelligence that we're accessing and dialoguing with, in my opinion and experience. So Peter, for you, what's the number one thing you would want people to know about muscle testing?
Boy, there's about this much I want people to know about muscle testing. And I guess quite simply, muscle testing doesn't have to be restricted to one modality. It can be used for a number of modalities. I use it for finding us, what muscle needs a little more tuning. We use it within the emotion code. I use it for energetic clearing for people internationally. I can clear homes. I can start working with adjusting craniums, if you will, by just asking and being present. And that's not to sound egotistic. What I'm trying to say is, as I've grown within my practice, there are no limitations on how I use muscle testing. Muscle testing is a tool. And like any tool, we learn how to use it, sharpen it, and become more accurate with it. And I will say that anyone who plays with it will start seeing and becoming more confident in it. Because it's one thing to work with, I'm now going to release, the trapezius muscle, to I am now seeking information from a source that I can't see, even though I'm working with someone in Ireland. But there is this unification that happens because as I'm speaking with you, you and I are connected. And as we speak to those that we want to work with, be it a bird, a dog, a cat, a human being, or other unseen energy fields or consciousnesses, there are no boundaries to it. It's just learning to trust and become more sensitive, and then step into as I work with this ascended master quite often. And he's always saying, acknowledge your mastership, So what I can invite people into doing is start acknowledging, even if you're a beginner, you are a master of what you're doing. And masters have to start from somewhere.
Peter, it also speaks to that call and response of the body too, right? It's just waiting for that acknowledgement of that divine blueprint we all share and have within the form, whether human, animal, or plant. There's that interaction that's just waiting to be ignited, if you will. And so I'm wondering if there's any stories that come to mind of something coming up that muscle testing helped pinpoint that perhaps otherwise wouldn't be brought to the surface?
Sure. Where shall I begin? Working with my sponsor in Ireland. She always calls, I'm stuck with this issue. Can you help source it? So with walking around the table, for me, I like to make a little grid. So it helps me hold my attention with that person. And then she can either be on the phone or not on the phone. And I can go around. And so we've helped her with her releasing frozen shoulder. We helped her with a certain familial, a family pattern. We've helped her with her asthma. Talking to a gallbladder. Why not, right? What's your story, gallbladder, that's creating these digestive issues? So we get to hear the story through asking. You gotta know some questions to ask before you can receive information, right? You gotta start that repertoire, unless you happen to be one who's sat on top of the mountain so well and is just of infinite sourcing. Boy, it just goes on and on. I really use it every day in my quantum reflex analysis that I do. That's all about muscle testing, either directly asking. Now it's getting to the point when I have a person, it's just taking too long to sit there and, work with them. It's just like, what's that need? How many capsules? How many this? So I'm using it in such a myriad of different ways. Let's see, what would be a really good story? Oh, okay. So just, I'm in Ireland doing ceremony with a group of people, and they're all in the medicine wheel for 48 hours. And I'm on the outside, but it's as the shaman, I need to be in contact with them. So, what's Madam X doing? Okay. Where do I help her open? What is Spirit House? Okay, Spirit House talking to Madam X. So I can be doing all this outside work for their inner growth, so they can be more outward. I know I'm lots of little pieces, but I want to just share that it's not just about one little story. There's just tons of different ways to be doing. And over now, probably 30 plus years of actually doing, because polarity, within the first year, I was already muscle testing and doing the O-ring test even before it was a well-known way of testing, because that's what I came up with, one of those moments. So from that point on, it was like, oh, you have a headache? Let me see. What point should I hit, or is it that emotion? So it's just been a fun way of being, because as our veils, for those who are in this type of belief system, as our veils are dropping, we are becoming, the level of our information to access from higher levels is opening up, right? So this is the other type of dial phone we can use to start receiving, right?
There's so much there, Peter, and it speaks to a lot of different ways you can you can muscle test, all of the different ways to muscle test, the ways you can incorporate muscle testing, and how far out there you want to go with it. Why do you think it's gotten kind of a bad rap and can be sort of controversial in that people are so ready to write off the information that comes up through it?
Well, let's put it this way. Can you write down muscle testing, right? Because it's using innate consciousness. It is using the I am presence. And in today's society, which is very third dimensional in the way we see and feel things, that this is outside the box, even though in my life, this is totally mainstream. This is how it is, that we are all information, that we are creator or creatorette. It's not to be gender specific. So, but and so those who live in a very tight box are going to shun, if you will, that this is not possible. But we're all miracles. And the part is, this is part of the miracle work that allows us, if we really step it back, creator, he, she, or it, or whatever, however anybody's, genre is there, created an ability for us to communicate, just like using straight kinesiology testing in quantum reflex analysis. The body was given a way to communicate another truth. If you follow the emotion code, Nelson's work, the body can't lie to you if you are connected. Why can't it lie? Because the higher self just doesn't know an untruth, right? It's so we take the smaller mind. I'll have to put it this way: the smaller mind can't receive. And I've had clients walk out. People have walked out. Pardon me, I didn't turn off my other phone. Be right there. I'm back. So the part is that the smaller mind can't conceive outside the box because they've fallen into a belief system that, either you need to write it down and take something, or, or it doesn't exist. Now, for me, I've worked with the Filipino psychic surgeons. I've worked with Mauricio Panacet from Light Man from Brazil. I've worked with shamans. I've talked to the rain beings, et cetera, et cetera. So I know these realities totally exist within us and around us, right? That whole string theory that was very big a number of years ago. We're walking through dimensions all the time. If you want to believe that, right? So you take Joe Dispenza's work. We get caught in a routine that creates a certain pattern within us. But if we break that routine, all of a sudden, walls start disappearing and a whole new level of creation can come in for your life. I guess that's a lot of blah, 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 just to say, people can either reject it or not, and it is ultimately their own belief system. And it is a bit woo-woo for those who are very concrete and need a prescription pad or whatever that's very concrete. To me, this is well beyond concrete.
And Peter, how can people reach out to you and connect with you?
Sure. Well, they can pick up their cell phone or texting machines and say 413-625-1000, please. Or they can go up and say, Siri, look up Peter Howe, info@peterhowehealer.com, and they can get in contact with me there.
Thanks, Peter. I appreciate you taking the time and sharing and opening up to so many different things. Anything else you want to share before we go?
Oh, there's always more, but for those in the learning curve, you know, I'll say my learning curve has never stopped. And my desire to be of service is even greater now than when I was just opening up. You know, when I first became a polarity therapist, I can save the world, you know. Then I became a neuromuscular therapist. I can save the world. I've now let go of that aspect, but that sense of being of service has really come forward on a whole new plane. You know, thus just activating the new medicine wheel for anyone who wants to come in and do a little questing in the medicine wheel. They're always welcome. You know, that to me was to serve 7 generations past, 7 generations forward. You know, how else can we as healers be of greater service, not only to ourselves, which means we walk the red road, we find our own way of beingness, to, you know, and we learn from teachers, and then we use that information to become more of ourselves, right? How do we listen to our calling and just become more of a blessed soul? You know, not to sound way out there, but it really is the basics, where we need to be right now.
And your ability to go out there, Peter, really helps a lot of people who feel that there's nowhere else to go and, you know, would do anything to try to escape what they're in. And so you really help to be able to serve anybody who's really going through anything, whatever you want to name it. Call Peter and he'll get you where you want to go.
Well,
great.
To that I bow again. So thank you so much, and hope this helps out at least one person out there.
Thank you, Peter. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Bye. Bye.